So thank you so much for joining us today. As you may know, I'm Sophie. I'm the project officer at Beacon. So thank you very much for joining us today. We're very excited to be hosting our Boost Your Patient Group's Productivity Using AI webinar. Of course, as always, thanks to our funders. So just a bit about Beacon itself, in case you're new here. Our vision is of no rare journey alone, and we have a mission of building a united rare disease community with patient groups at the heart. We exist as diagnosis is only the start of the rare journey, and yet it still remains difficult to get an accurate one, as I'm sure many of you are aware. It is even more challenging for rare disease communities to get treatments and research into their condition, and at Beacon we recognise this, whilst also understanding that patient support groups all have different ambitions, from research to lobbying to community support. We deliver our work in three major areas: patient group training, like this one, rare research, and also uniting the rare community. The majority of our work is focused on patient group training and supporting groups to grow, professionalise and support their communities. But we also help patient groups to find a place at the heart of research, empowering them to feel comfortable in the research context and to get their voices and needs listened to. And we do all this by facilitating connections across the whole rare space. So without further ado, what will be covered today? I'm excited to welcome you to our masterclass on AI. We've chosen this topic because we know one of the most important things patient groups need is time. And so we want you to help you become more efficient. Too often, patient group leaders have a mile-long to-do list and feel pressured to do everything single-handedly all at once. AI is a huge buzzword at the moment, but it can also be useful. It's not just a hype. We're aware that some of you might never have heard of the term AI or might not know how to go about using it. This webinar is hopefully going to be a perfect introduction to what AI is, how you can use it, and also some pitfalls you might encounter. So here's Jenn. Jenn is our lovely trainer today. She's from the Third Sector Lab, and yeah, we're really honoured to have her with us today.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for everyone who's here today. So today we are looking at, we've got a slightly different title here, but in the same lines of an introduction to AI in the non-profit sector, and I'm hoping that you will come away feeling inspired about some of the ways that AI can assist with your work in patient groups today. So first, a wee bit about me. So I'm Jenn. I work with Third Sector Lab, as Sophie said, and I specialise in digital design and development. So Third Sector Lab is a digital agency that works exclusively with the third sector. Since the boom in 2022, I've been using AI to streamline a lot of my work in one way or another. And I've got a real passion for encouraging people to harness the benefits of AI in their work too. So I will preface this by saying that I am not an AI expert. I think it's challenging to say that you are an expert in anything that is changing every day. But rather I am a digital professional with a passion for AI and plenty of experience in working in the third sector, and I can see where the real benefits can be. So I will just reiterate what Sophie said with a wee outline of today's session and what we're going to cover today. So first of all, an overview of what is AI exactly, and making sure that we're all on the same page on how we're defining AI for the purposes of today's session. And then we'll look at some benefits and potential of AI, followed by some generative AI demonstrations. Then the kind of not so fun side, we will look at some of the things that you should watch out for when using AI. And then a kind of summary of what we've discussed, and I will share some resources with you for some kind of further learning beyond today's session, and we'll wrap up with some time allocated for a bit of questions and discussion. So, what is AI? You might have heard the term ChatGPT thrown about quite a bit. AI is a lot more than just ChatGPT, and we'll just move on to talk about that now. So, the Scottish AI Alliance defines AI as AI, also known as artificial intelligence and sometimes augmented or assistive intelligence, is a term used to describe a group of technologies which allow computers to perform tasks that would otherwise require human intelligence. So examples of this include recognising and identifying images, which is visual perception, learning and producing speech, speech recognition, and language translation. But let's look at some more practical examples of that. So here's some examples of how we are already using AI in our daily lives. It's not a future technology, it's here and it is here to stay. So I'll just run through each of these to talk about how each of these tools or functions makes use of AI. So spam filters. So by analysing the kind of content and attributes of your email and comparing them to kind of recognise spam, email inboxes can use AI to determine whether or not something belongs in your junk folder. Voice assistants. So voice assistants are a classic speech recognition that allows AI to translate your requests into actions. Video suggestions. So based on your previous watch and engagement history, video platforms like YouTube and Netflix will provide recommendations for your next watch. Facial recognition, comparing a scanned face to that in a database for security purposes. And also security purposes within your kind of personal mobile phone device as well. Navigation, so apps like Google Maps or Waze use AI to determine the best route for you, based on a number of factors such as congestion, road closures, or even fuel consumption now. Search algorithms, so helping you find the information that you're likely to be looking for based on your past search history. And autocorrect and predictive text, looking at your typing behaviour and helping you fix typos and complete sentences based on the stuff that you generally tend to say. So we'll have a wee look at the potential and benefits. So how AI can help us to work more efficiently and ultimately help us to do more and better work. So we've got 4 examples here. This is not an exhaustive list, but it is some key ways that AI can be used to support your work in the third sector. So content creation, helping you create better content to better engage with your stakeholders, perhaps positioning yourself more strongly to funders. Data analysis, prioritising the areas of focus by analysing data, so whether that's donor data, stakeholder engagement data, service delivery. So more and more now AI chatbots are being used to help users get the information they need quicker, particularly if you're a kind of information-based organisation. This can use the content of your website to inform the chatbot and help people access information really quickly. And another useful thing is summarising lengthy or complex content quickly. If you have a 100-page report that you just want the headline stats from, AI can be really helpful in helping you with that. So today I am talking about generative AI. So generative AI is basically AI that is used to create new content. So this could be text, images, video, audio, code, you name it. And we'll look at 2 types of generative AI, text generation and image generation. So for this, we will be looking at ChatGPT and DALL-E, which are both products by OpenAI. They're not exclusive. There's many different generative AI services, but these 2 are certainly 2 of the most popular at the moment. I've put a little asterisk in there just to point out that use of DALL-E will require an OpenAI subscription, as will some of the tools that I'm going to show you, but hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that for 20 quid a month, it is kind of worth its weight in gold. That being said, there is also a free tier available, which has certain limitations, which I will talk through as we get to it. So how does it work? First of all, it needs a prompt. So that's essentially what you're asking the AI to do. Depending on the platform you're using, this could be write me some copy for, or summarise the following, or generate an image that contains basically the action that you want the AI to do. The prompt is then fed into the large language model, or LLM, which is essentially a bank of knowledge. Then the output is processed using pattern recognition algorithms. So how, by using the information that is in the LLM, what are the most likely patterns that have been seen across the data reference set that I have? In OpenAI's case, that's the internet, more or less. So yeah, it's a huge bank of knowledge that we have to work with. Let's look at now at how we can write some effective prompts. So I think that there are 6 areas that it's best to focus on when you are writing your prompts for generative AI. Number 1, be specific. So be clear about what you're asking. the format of the output that you're looking for, how many words should be in it, what kind of tone or style would you like to use. Make sure that you're specific with what it is that you're asking. AI is not very good at guesswork, and it often will get wrong when it's making assumptions. Provide context. So make sure that you provide the AI with any background information that it should know and take into consideration when it's developing your output. What would you need to tell someone who had never heard about your organisation or the campaign that you're working on? Think of it as an assistant, so someone who's maybe just started within your organisation. What's the background information that they need to be able to complete the task successfully? Role play. So role playing can be effective. So if you tell or ask, let's be polite, the AI to adopt a relevant profession, such as a marketer, a data analyst, a researcher, a fundraiser, and that can provide you with answers that are that I've just lost my words there. It can provide you with answers that are kind of tailored to in a way that someone who would someone who worked in these professions would answer the question. One thing at a time, so focus on one task at a time. AI can very easily cross wires, and you'll get more effective results if you focus on one particular issue at a time. Use negatives. Set the boundaries of your conversation. Don't be afraid to tell the AI what you don't want to see. And finally, experiment. So through your use of these technologies, you'll learn what works for you. Keep a note of your effective prompts. If you've had a result that you're particularly pleased with, do make a note of that and certainly use it again in the future. But all that being said, ChatGPT is exactly that. It's a chat, so you do not have to have your prompt absolutely perfect on the first go. You can go back and forth to refine the output if you need to. If you don't like the answer, then tell it why and work with it to get the output that you're looking for. We'll do some kind of examples of that within the session today. So moving on, I'm going to start showing you some of this in action. Throughout the demo, please feel free to make use of the Q&A function or the chat within Zoom, and I'll scoop up everything and answer as best I can at the end of the session. We've got some time allocated for that. So to give you an idea of some of the possibilities of AI in relation to your work, I'm going to move into a demonstration for these 5 tasks. So this is a live demo, and the output may vary in quality, so just to give you a heads up about that, but hopefully we will get some good results, and if we don't, we will do some refinement like I spoke about just on the last slide. So I'm going to just do a little bit of swapping screens here, where I will move to ChatGPT. So the first thing that we will be looking at is creating a social media post. I've already created some prompts here, so you don't have to sit and look at me and type in. But just to bring it back a step, you access ChatGPT by going to chat.openai.com. You will require an account to log in, and you can sign up through a Google account or whatever if you've already got that, but it will take you through it. Once you're logged in, you'll be directed to this page, which is really kindly asking, how can I help you today? And you've got some examples there of prompts that could be used, but none of these are relevant for what I'm looking for at the moment. So on the first task of creating a social media post, I'm going to use the prompt, create a post for Twitter. So we're being Twitter, I refuse to call it X, but yeah. So we're being specific here. It's a post for Twitter, including relevant hashtags to advertise new volunteering opportunities within a small charity that helps people cope with rare diseases. So we'll fire that in, give it a sec, and we'll see what the outcome is. So exciting news, our small charity is opening new volunteering opportunities. Join us to make a huge difference in the lives of those battling rare diseases. Whether you're into fundraising, social media or direct support, your help is priceless. Let's spread hope together. And as requested, it's given some appropriate hashtags there. That's great. If I'm in the process of developing a kind of social media plan or a social media content calendar, I might want to expand on this a little bit. So if I'm committing to maybe tweeting about volunteering opportunities once a week, for example, might want some more of these. So I'm going to pop in a further prompt, create 3 more variations of this. And you'll see here, right in front of our eyes, we are having some more content delivered to us here. Just having a wee read through these just to see. So might not be perfectly your style. There might be some things that you want to tweak about it, but in terms of inspiration and basically getting you out of writer's block or giving you a structure, this can be really, really useful. So I can simply copy paste those tweets into my kind of content calendar, and that's it done in a matter of seconds rather than crafting all of these from scratch. Some of these are a little bit kind of bubbly, I'd say. So if I wanted to have the examples with the kind of tone, maybe like calm down a little bit, and we can certainly work with ChatGPT to do that. So don't feel like the first output is what you have to go for. If you don't like it, you can refine it. So I'm going to type in here, make them less. I suppose quirky. You can talk to this just the way you would a person on a chat. So you see here, I've said make it less quirky, and it's kind of stripped the emojis out of it, the exclamation marks and things like that, and given it a kind of more serious tone. Again, you could do that oppositely as well. So you could make this a bit more exciting. And yeah, so you'll see that it's starting to lag a little bit here. You'll see it kind of varies in terms of the speed, depending on the number of people who are sitting using this at the moment. But we are certainly out of the hurdle of being told that ChatGPT is down because too many people are using it. We've certainly come out of that kind of boom now. So yeah, there's some further examples that we could use for social media content, and they are kind of basic examples. So with a good social media post, it's good to have an image with it. Something that will help attract attention when people are scrolling through their feeds. So yeah, so I would then choose one of the tweets that I find is most appropriate or most like what I'm looking for. Then I'm going to just open the sidebar here, and we're going to generate an image to accompany this. So with many third sector organisations, anonymity is something that's really, really important. We don't necessarily want to broadcast the people who are accessing our services without explicit permission. And I'm very aware that getting that permission is not always easy. So what we can do is we can generate relevant images using AI, and that's when we'll look at DALL-E. So I'm going to go up to explore GPTs here, and then go to DALL-E. So here, you can specify a type of image that you want. So I'm going to put in a prompt here, which is create a photorealistic image of someone supporting an older person. Very generic, but we'll see what it comes out, and we will refine if we need to. Image quality can kind of vary with this, but we'll have a wee surprise together nonetheless. So the reason why I haven't had all this loaded up in advance is because I wanted to see the kind of small amount of time that it takes and have a kind of realistic outline of how long it takes. So here's the photorealistic image you requested, captured in a moment of support and bonding between a young adult and an elderly person as they enjoy a walk through the park. So at the moment, I think most people would look at that and realise there's something not quite right about it in terms of the kind of photorealism. It kind of looks a bit CGI. However, this is just the beginning, and this is only going to get better. So what I could do is I could say make it in landscape format and look more realistic. So we can build on this. with further prompts. Don't feel like you have to get it all in the first go. We'll just give that a sec here. Oh, the anticipation. Right. So you can see it has changed. It's changed the people altogether, even though I didn't ask it to. But then again, I didn't ask it not to. So see what I mean about being really, really specific. It's been adjusted into a landscape format to look more realistic. A warm late afternoon scene of an intergenerational support in a park. I could ask to make it rain. I could ask for various other attributes about the people within them, but this doesn't have to be exclusively kind of photorealism either. You could generate kind of cartoons as well, to really go away from we're not trying to be we're not trying to pretend that this is an actual photograph here. We could make it in a kind of cartoon style. So make it in a recreate the same image in a line art cartoon style. We'll just use this as the last one. But if you choose to use this, I think you can have a lot of fun with it. Even out with professional stuff as well. It can be good fun seeing what it comes up with. There we go. There we go. So it's taken the same principle and put that into kind of line art format. That could be yeah, anything that you're working with. You could attach an image here and say make this in a line art style, like a photograph that you have, and that can maybe give you a quick way to kind of cartoonize. That's just some kind of examples off the top of my head, but yeah, lots of different ways that you can use this. I've got a couple of questions in the chat that I can see just now, which I'll just answer because they're applicable to this this particular area. So we've got, is there a way to keep doing it the exact same style if you find a style you like? Yes, so a good way of doing that would be revisiting the chat here. So on the left-hand side, you can see all the things that I've been speaking to ChatGPT about. I would keep this chat open, and then you can then use the image that it's created for you in the past as a reference. So for example, if I wanted to use this same style, but change it to a dog in a living room, for example, I'm just trying to think of something different. Using the same style creates an image of a dog sitting curled up in front of a fire in a home, for example. And then hopefully, well spotted, there's a random walking stick floating on this person's leg. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for things like that. Another thing that you should keep an eye out for, particularly when there's humans being depicted in photos, is the eyes and the hands. They are the things that tend to not be so good. A lot of people that are depicted in images tend to have quite a glazed look over their eyes, which can be a little bit daunting. It's done not too bad a job of the hands in this one. And similarly here, it's actually not too bad. It is getting better and it's only going to get better. So yeah, here's a cozy scene you requested, featuring a dog curled up in front of a fireplace, depicted in the same charming line art cartoon style. As you can see, it's not exactly the same. So that's when I would be sending some prompts to say, come on, we want it to be more like the one before. It's not perfect, but yeah, and hopefully you can start to almost generate a kind of suite of styles. It's how big in terms of megabytes, kilobytes are these images? I'll just do a quick download here. So that one there is 305 kilobytes. It's downloaded in WebP format, which will be a nice and efficient format. I'll come up to one of the more kind of complicated ones here. So I'll download that. That one is 434 kilobytes. However, you can specify as well if you would like it to be 4K, HD, specific size and things like that as well. So yeah, we're getting into specifics there. What is the left leg? We've spoken about the walking stick that's kind of floating there, so watch out for stuff like that. Could you ask it to insert logo or branding? Not this particular GPT, but there is something that we can maybe do with Canva, which I'll show you in a kind of another demonstration coming up, where we can insert logos and make tweaks to these in a more kind of graphical sense. So that's it for creating a social media post. The next thing I'm going to look at is analysing a bunch of data. So in the spirit of asking ChatGPT to do one thing at a time, I'm going to open a new chat here. So ChatGPT will remember what you've spoken about in a particular chat, but if you open a new chat, that's essentially, right, clear your brain, this is what we're working on now, and don't think about anything else that I've spoken to you about before. I have a bunch of sample data here, which I'm just going to flick over and show you. So I'll go new share, we'll go to Microsoft Excel here. And this is just sample data that I actually created with ChatGPT of just some dummy data around a donor or donations that have happened over the last year or so. So we've got 30 entries here. And I'm going to pull this into ChatGPT just to ask some questions about it. You're probably thinking, there's only 30 entries there, surely I could just sort it and find the answers that I need to. Think in the thousands here, where trawling through several lines of an Excel spreadsheet might be a bit of a kind of mundane task to do. So I'll just demonstrate this now, coming back to ChatGPT, and I'll hide this sidebar here just for clarity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that file from my desktop. So I've got donor data sample here. And then I'm going to ask my first question about it, which will be, what is the most popular method of donation? And we'll just give it a wee sec. So analyse the file. I'll take a look at the file and summarise the findings for you. Give me a moment. No problem. So just take a wee second there to analyse. So the data contains information about donations, including the donor's name, donation amount, etc. To identify the most popular method of donation, I'll calculate which donation type appears most frequently in the data set. Just a sec. So it keeps you posted. The most popular method of donation in the data you provided is online. It seems like digital transactions are leading the way, which would make sense given the convenience and efficiency they offer. So actually, in addition to that, it's given you a kind of predicted reason for why that has happened as well. So looking outside the realms of just the data that we're giving them, it's attributed some meaning to it, which can be helpful with large data sets. In that donor sample data, we had some information about the particular campaign that someone donated to. So I'm going to put in here which was the most successful campaign. Just had a wee sneeze there, sorry. So the most successful campaign based on the total donation amount is the Building Fund, which had a total of £780. So it's already taken all those rows and added them up to show me the total as well. Then we can maybe combine factors. What method did most donors use to donate in March? So that could be if you had a particular campaign around bank transfer giving, for example, we can get an answer quickly to see if that worked. So in March, the donation method most donors used was check. It's interesting to see how donation preferences can vary by month or event. The last thing I'm going to just ask out of this sample data is during which month are donors most generous? And by kind of having that information, I can make some kind of strategic decisions based on what to prioritise my efforts on. March is the month where donors are most generous, with a total of £520 in donations. It seems like springtime generosity is in full swing during this period. Thanks, ChatGPT. Jess, you are sorted. That's all good. Fab. So that's some examples of how you can upload some kind of information which you can then start to query in a kind of human interaction kind of style. Next, I am going to look at summarising content. So again, I don't want to have this chat that I've been working on with ChatGPT influence what I want it to summarise. So I'm going to open a new chat here, new chat, new kind of activity. So here I am going to upload the Charity Digital Skills Report 2023, which is quite a chunky PDF around the state of digital skills within the charity sector. And I want ChatGPT to tell me from this report, what are the 3 areas I should focus on as a small charity? And we'll just give that a wee sec. This is one I maybe could do with holding music. Oh no, it's done that quite quickly. So based on the Charity Digital Skills Report 2023, small charities should focus on 1, 2, 3. It's outlined it there based on the content within the report. And again, I can start to ask questions about this, just like I was having a conversation with a person. So the number 1 issue that is highlighted here is improving digital skills and confidence. So I might want to ask, what are some statistics around point 1? So again, just having a nosy through the document. And there we go. So almost 2/3, 64% of charities report having excellent basic digital skills. However, there's skills gaps, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, if you wanted the specifics out of that, it'll pull it out for you without you having to trawl through the report. I'm trying to think of any other questions we could ask this at the moment, but it's given me a lot here because I wasn't specific. I didn't say give me 1 point or the top point. It tends to give you more rather than less sometimes. If I was reading this and it says here they're poor at user research, and I thought, what's user research? I don't really know what that means. I could, within this conversation, say, explain the term user research to me like I'm 12. And it'll break it down as simple to us. So user research is like being a detective for a website or app. Imagine you're creating a game or tool that you want your friends to use and enjoy, but first you need to figure out what they like, what frustrates them, and what would make them happy. So yeah, for me, like who works in that kind of area, I think that's a fair kind of start to a definition about what user research is. So again, all within the one conversation, I am exploring this report without having to necessarily laboriously sit and read through it. So that's kind of summarising content. The next thing, just on this kind of idea of user behaviour, I'm going to do some research on this, but I want it to be evidenced research and reference back to studies or reports that have been done. So I'm going to go to explore GPTs here. And then there's one that I'm looking for called consensus. So this basically plugs into consensus, which is 200 million academic papers, and use the information within those to influence what ChatGPT tells me. So tell me about recent research studies that, hang on, I've got my prompt here. Don't type, just do what I prepared. So from user research, what are the main ways that people choose not to donate to a charity online? For example, so start the action. It just wants me to confirm. Do you want me to talk to consensus to do this? Yes, I do. The main reasons people choose not to donate to charities online are diverse and can be influenced by a various factors. What's important about this is it will give me references and links to the studies where I can go and find out more about that. We'll talk a little bit about misinformation and the kind of things to watch out for section. But if you're looking for particular studies around an area that you're researching, this can be a really good way of doing that without trying to guess keywords and have that kind of broader search there as well. So that's another kind of useful one that I wanted to show you. And finally, in my kind of last of the demos, I am going to show you how we can create a process diagram using a GPT called Whimsical Diagrams. So I'll open one of these and I'm going to ask the GPT to create a volunteer recruitment process flow diagram. Make sure to include pathways for accepted and not accepted background checks, and include a step post-recruitment on checking in with the volunteer. So we'll see how it interprets this. And it just wants to check that it's happy to use that tool. Yes, it is. Give it a wee sec to do its thing. View and edit this diagram in Whimsical, and that will open that in a new tab. So here right away, we've created a process diagram. It is, I've used a kind of simple example here, but you might have more kind of complicated processes within your organisation. So start, advertise the positions, volunteer applies for the position, we review the applications, and there's a background check. I specifically asked to give me options for whether or not the background check was passed or if it failed. If it's passed, we go through the rest of the process. If they fail, then the application's rejected and that becomes the end of the process. Again, I can add to this if I want to. So I want to add a step after the background check. Anyone who has already completed the training can bypass this step. So we'll add another kind of pathway split in here. And maybe you'll be thinking about processes that you have in your organisation that you'd like to map out like this in seconds. If you're not regularly using tools like this to create process maps, I've just created that in seconds, so can possibly save you a lot of headaches. I'll just open this one in the new tab as well. So as requested, the volunteer's been accepted. Have they completed the training? Yes, they can crack on with the rest of the process. If not, they need to be trained. And I can refine and reiterate that as much as I want. So that's just one example of how we could use that to create a diagram. So we've looked at, I'll come back to my slides here. Where are we? This one. I'll just move some things out the way because I've been opening lots of different things. So we looked at creating a social media post, so both the copy for that post, some kind of relevant hashtags and imagery. We've analysed a bunch of data. So we analysed the donor activity over the last kind of year or so with by feeding in that data to the GPT. We looked at summarising content out of big reports. So using the Charity Digital Skills Report, we asked about some of the key outcomes from it. And then from that, we actually asked the GPT to clarify some of the terms that we weren't familiar with within the report. We did a quick research task on some user behaviour. So using the consensus database of research papers, we were able to get referenced material through that GPT. And then finally we looked at creating a process diagram to outline processes in our head. And then I then showed you how you can go back and add steps to that or refine it further if you want to. And that can be, in 2 or 3 days' time, you decide, oh, wouldn't it be good if that diagram had a step? That chat will still be open for you as long as you don't close it and able to kind of carry on where you left off within that conversation. So hopefully that has given you some ideas around how you can maybe start using some of this in your work. The next bit, I'm going to speak to you about some things that you should watch out for, the kind of not so fun part. So we've looked at, yeah, some cool ways of generating content, but here are some things that you should be mindful of when you're using generative AI like this. So first of all, biases. Large language models, so basically the data set is trained on the data that we give them, so it can inevitably inherit our biases as human beings. So for example, you might find that women or people from a minority background are not represented in the imagery that you generate unless you tell it to. So be specific with your prompts and be mindful of the kind of stereotypes that you might want to avoid within your output. Next one is plagiarism. So AI is not creative, rather it is output based on patterns and ideas that it is learned. Make sure that your content isn't inadvertently copying one of your competitors. So a wee bit of a kind of human sense check on that is really, really helpful. A massive thing that you should take into consideration is misinformation. Data models are trained on lots of data of varying quality, so make sure that you fact check appropriately if you're using the GPT for kind of information generation. That's easier said than done sometimes, but with a kind of tweet or some of the content that we looked at today, it should be kind of straightforward. They're smaller pieces of content, but if you said something like generate my essay for my degree on this, it'll be a much longer form piece of content and might need to be kind of checked more thoroughly and referenced appropriately. Harmful content. So as well as not being creative, AI doesn't know what is morally right or wrong. It doesn't have feelings, empathy, or ethics. So it is possible that it can generate content that some people might find offensive. Make sure that anything generated by AI is given the human seal of approval. It's not necessarily harmful, but one of the people in the room spotted that there was a strange walking stick kind of floating in the air of one of the images that were generated. Stuff like that can happen a lot and maybe lead to misinterpretation. So make sure you have a good look at the images that you're generating or the copy as well. And finally, privacy. So be mindful of the information that you feed the AI. The information that you give may be used to further train the model and be used as a point of reference for future answers. So by that I mean what I put in was dummy data, but if I was to put that data in a kind of real life sense, I wouldn't be putting people's names within that and given any kind of indication that a particular person donated on a particular day. That would be a kind of privacy invasion, I suppose. So think about it in the way that if you wouldn't post it on your social media channels, don't put it into AI. So you could say things like, we've had these many donors through this these different methods. That's absolutely fine. You wouldn't say Joe Bloggs donated a tenner on the 5th of April, for example. These are things to keep in mind. They are in no particular order, and it is not an exhaustive list. You might find that some of the issues are more important to your organisation than others. These are just kind of general points that I think you should be aware of across all settings. And I've got a kind of resource in the next slide of how you can maybe do some further reading about the ways that you can use AI in your work ethically. So we went through that very, very quickly, and we've got a bunch of questions in the Q&A, and I'm happy to spend plenty of time on that. I've got some next steps and resources for you, just as a kind of to leave you with something, and I want to show you some other cool stuff as well. So what's next? Open your mind. when you're going through your daily work life, think about the areas that are kind of most time consuming and repetitive for you. There's so much potential for ChatGPT to essentially become your personal assistant. And that is if you remember that it is available. I think one of the big things for me when I started using this was I always thought ChatGPT could have done that for me on reflection, but being able to kind of keep that in mind that it is an option for you and you can potentially integrate it more within your workflows in the organisation. And then explore and experiment. So for me, the best way that I understood how useful AI can be was to actually just give it a go. Seeing some kind of demonstrations through what what I've kind of shown you today, and then starting to think about how that's relevant in your own work is super helpful. So have a go. ChatGPT is very good in your personal life as well. I personally got my dad's Christmas gift based on a suggestion from ChatGPT. So where we are kind of talking in a work sense, think about how you can use it in your personal life as well. Meal planners, task management, like all these kind of things. It is really kind of book recommendations, just things that come to my head of examples that you can use that, and you'll certainly have your own as well. I'm going to show you some resources or just point in the direction of some resources here that you can use. I'll share the slides in the chat with you all in a wee sec when I've kind of closed the presentation. We've got ChatGPT prompts for fundraisers, so a kind of collection of prompts that people have collated around fundraising. So I thought you might find some of those helpful. So when you get that link, you can have a wee nosy through those. The Scottish AI Alliance e-learning course, they have produced a free to access course around kind of all things AI, and it goes into a lot more kind of detail around things like GPTs, LLMs, all your kind of acronyms and the more kind of techie side of AI, as well as more in depth around the ethics of using it as well. So it's basically a more kind of in-depth look of the kind of stuff that I spoke about at the start of the session in a kind of easy to digest e-learning format. So that's free for you to access as well. And then there is a post here from the Catalyst just around how your charity can use AI ethically. I wanted to leave you with some further food for thought around how you should keep in mind using AI in an ethical way. This is just the start. It's very exciting, and there's going to be a lot more to come from this, and I hope that you will be open-minded about where it can kind of take you in future. I am going to show you just some other cool stuff. It may or may not be relevant to your work, but I just wanted to show you some things that I've looked at recently in terms of AI and thought that is pretty cool. The first one I'm going to show you, which I'm just loading up just now. Oops, OpenAI, which is called Sora. Sorry, I've got this open in another tab. There we go. Right, I will switch over now. So this is the kind of next step in image generation, video generation. And all the videos that you see on this page have been generated by AI, and I'll show you just some of the kind of examples. So here we've got this lady walking in somewhere, it kind of looks like Japan, I think. And yeah, this is all fictitious, it's not real. Things that you can kind of watch out for are the walking patterns, particularly this person in the back is kind of floating a little bit. You might find that people are kind of walking in funny directions and things like that. But where I think this is going to be really useful is around a stock video. I'll just show you a few more examples here. So if you can imagine what it would take to try and get a shot like that. Well, you couldn't actually because woolly mammoths are extinct, are they not? Yeah. So yeah, getting impossible shots there. There's some kind of ones with humans in them. which are not bad at all. There's Big Sur. Again, thinking about the kind of effort and resource it would take to hire a drone, get your licensing and all that kind of thing for something that you might only be using as kind of the background of a website header or something like that. Yeah, it's not perfect, but for the amount of time that somebody would potentially be looking at it, it might work. Some other styles here as well. So you've got this little fluffy monster. So you've got kind of cartoon style as well. Watch out, Pixar. I'll scroll down and just show you some other styles as well. So there's an eye. Doing a little bit of juddering about the eye, and you'll start to we'll all start getting a lot better at kind of spotting this stuff. Again, I'm working of cartoon style. So yeah, that's some examples of what's to come in terms of video, and also just as a kind of heads up for the content that you digest going forward. There's certainly a big question mark around whether or not we should be disclosing that video is generated by AI, and I'm interested in seeing what happens around the kind of laws of that as well, going forward. The next thing I want to show you is a website called Prompt Hero. So this is a tool that if you're generating images in particular, and it might be quite helpful for the person who asked about generating a style. There are different styles here. You can sit and browse through all these kind of image styles. But when, say for example, I really like these kind of isometric people, if I click on that, it will give me the prompt that was used within the model to generate that actual image. So it can be helpful if you're kind of stuck for how to maybe describe something. It is going quite specific here. So in the style of small brush strokes, white background, simple colours, cast of spaces, etc., etc. You can just go ahead and copy that and then pop it into the GPT. So that can be quite helpful. Another thing that is quite helpful within this as well is if you come to the Chat GPT section, and then if you search by best, it gives you a bunch of kind of starting points for some prompts there. So you might remember that I said in the kind of prompt tips, you might want to do a bit of role playing. There it's got one set up. So I want you to act as a social media influencer. You'll create content, blah 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 blah, and get you started that way. So there's plenty in there for those kind of role playing prompts. Personal trainer, advertiser, proofreader. So yeah, having a ChatGPT look and proofread your work, which can be quite helpful. And the final thing I want to show you is a thing called a Magic to Do by Goblin Tools. Let me just remove this a sec. That was a wee test I was doing. So breaking things down so you don't. It's a tool that's designed for people with ADHD, I believe. I don't have the ADHD, but I still find this really useful for those tasks that can be quite overwhelming. So if you've got on your to-do list, create a fundraising campaign, that can be quite an overwhelming thing to digest in one go. But if I pop it into this, create a fundraising campaign, put that on my to-do list, and then if I hit this little magic wand here, breakdown item, give it a sec, and it'll break that down into tasks that are a bit more kind of achievable and start to help flesh out your to-do list a bit in a way that feels a bit more manageable. With each of these as well, we can break them down further. So if we wanted to break down more of how we would set up an account for the chosen platform, I'll pop that in, and then it'll give me the subtasks within here as well. So if you're like me and you can be quite bad for procrastination, this is helpful for breaking things down to help you kind of check things off and start feeling that you've made a bit of progress. So yeah, I've told lots of people about this tool as well. So have a wee look at that one. I'll put a link in the Canva slides. Got a couple of messages in the chat. I love setting up my to-do list broken down like this with tick boxes in every step, so it sounds like a really useful tool. Yeah, me too. And when using AI generated, excuse me, text or images within medical communications arena, I think it's set in stone. They have to make it noted that it's generated by AI. Yeah, absolutely, and quite rightly too. Cool, right. I've seen lots of questions have been pinging through on the Q&A functionality here. What I'll do is I will just pop this Q&A and discussion slide here, and we will jump into those questions, and I'll certainly answer as best I can, and I may jump back into things to kind of demonstrate if we need to. So, what are the implications for data protection when inputting data into public AI systems? So, I would say that I'm not a data protection expert. However, like I outlined before, and I think this might have been this question might have come in before that, check the terms and conditions of the AI system that you're using and how that data is going to be used. You have some GPTs that are kind of all inclusive and they don't learn from the prompts that you put in, and some of them do. So I would say that for now, I would be keeping anonymized data that's within GPTs, but I would definitely consult with a kind of GDPR expert around the kind of specifics of that. Can it produce a pie chart from this data? That is a good question. Let's see. Let's try it, and we'll give it a go. I know it can certainly produce tables. So I'll come back to that chat there. So it was around online donations lead, I think. Is that the one? Yep, that's the one we were working with. Can you produce a pie chart of the data? There you go. So the answer is yes. And again, I could go back and be more specific about what I want to be included in the pie chart as well, if I wanted to. So yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and make charts with that as well. And you could go ahead and download that. Can ChatGPT learn from the info we give him? Sometimes it replies that the info is not available. So it will speak within the conversation based on the conversation history. But if you start a new chat, it's not going to remember what you told it beforehand. So as long as it's within the same chat, yes, it will remember what you've told it previously. But yeah, going forward, you might have to reiterate things, and that's where you maybe start to create a bit of a prompt library. Yeah, if you were doing lots of different things with AI. I'll just hit done on that one. Can you go back to old chats easily? Yeah, absolutely. So all of your chats, unless you clear them, are saved at the left-hand side here. So I can go back to the image generation that I did. We went back to the kind of social media content creation. That's the ones that I've been working on today. And because these are tied to my account, whenever I log in, those chats will be there again, and you can archive them or go ahead and delete them as well. So they're there unless you tell them not to be. Does information, data, or reports need to be uploaded in specific formats? No, I have played about with this a little bit, but it basically tells you if you upload it in a format that is finding difficult to read. For me, I would say your spreadsheets, keep them kind of CSV format, but I uploaded both an Excel CSV, sorry, and a PDF, and it interpreted both of those. So I'd say yeah, experiment with it, and don't be afraid to push it a little bit as well. So I have seen where you've added a spreadsheet that's maybe got some kind of complex functions and stuff in it, and it just maybe takes a bit longer, but it does tell you why it can't read a specific thing. So yeah, just have a chat with ChatGPT and find out what it needs. Does it do pretty well at hitting a reading level for content creates? I would say yes. I've had a good experience of asking people to write things at kind of an age 5 reading level. That will take a bit of kind of checking on well by a human. But it's really good at, you know, taking, say, a paragraph of content and saying, write this in plain English, and helping you create, accessible content. So I think it does pretty well at reading level, again, if you tell it to. So maybe not by default. Is it using things that are under copyright that it's gotten access to with or without permission? Yes. So it is a very hot topic at the moment, but a lot of kind of artists and designers and things are getting annoyed, because if their stuff has been popped on the internet, that is then being used for inspiration. I guess it goes back to when the internet first came about, and what we all used to say around, if you put something on the internet, it's there forever, and it's there for anybody to use and look at, essentially. So yeah, there are potentially things that are under copyright that ChatGPT will use to influence the outputs that it gives you. So good to be mindful of that, and yeah, just look forward to seeing more kind of like legislation around this, and how we can all just make sure we keep ourselves safe. I know that in the early days, some of the papers cited were made up. Is this really more reliable? I would say that with the Consensus app, it gives you the hyperlink, using that rather than the kind of general chat GPT. If you use the Consensus plugin, it gives you the hyperlink to the study, so you can go and read more and verify that if you want to. So yeah, but always be mindful that don't take everything from chat GPT as gospel. I've answered that one live. From Whimsical, can you import to some Microsoft program to edit it? I'm not sure, but you can edit it directly within Whimsical itself. So we'll just jump into that again. I've kept that window open for the diagrams that were produced. So this is actually something that I can edit. And if you want to save it, you might have to just create a Whimsical account. I'm sure there's a free tier as well. But yeah, you can actually go in and manually change this if you want to as well. So I'm not 100% sure on what the export options are. I'm assuming that they'll probably be PDF. Yeah, and there's different tools you can use within there to edit it as well, just like you would maybe on Miro or something like that. So yeah, because it'll give you a starting point. And then in any case, I would use this as kind of inspiration as well. So if you're already working on something, but you're kind of stuck with how to outline a particular process, it can be helpful of getting you out of that kind of rut as well. But yeah, you can edit directly on this. So I should have said that at the time as well. Sorry about that. Share. We answered that one. If we publish something released with ChatGPT, do we have to specifically mention it on social media platform or other? Yeah, again, good question. And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes, in my view, I'm kind of half and half about it. Yeah, I think that nobody should just blindly copy and paste something from ChatGPT without having a good look at it and giving it that kind of human touch. For me, is that human overview what makes it then your content, and you've given your approval to it. In which case, why would you have to say that it was AI that wrote it? Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I can see arguments for that on both sides. I'm not sure. I don't believe that there is any kind of particular laws around that at the moment. But it's not to say that might not come in the future, and we have to disclose when things have been written with AI. But what you could think about is, if you create a social media post like we did before, so if we create a tweet and then we change one word of it, do we have to then specify that the rest of it was created by ChatGPT, but that word wasn't, so yeah, it's got lots of different angles. It's a very big question that unfortunately I'm not fully equipped to answer. Do you have references for an app or site to check if plagiarism while publishing? There are a few tools as well that are good for or I say good, but that are designed to identify whether or not a piece of writing has been written by AI. I've seen many examples of it getting it wrong as well. So you've maybe seen examples of like kind of college professors and stuff like that, running their students' essays through this kind of AI checker and coming out like this is 90% produced with AI when in fact it wasn't. And vice versa, things that have been produced with AI saying that it's not. So yeah, I would. I think let me have a wee think about that, and I'll pop some links in the slides, which I'll share with you in a sec, around checking for plagiarism. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one at the moment. Is it possible to get the links to these resources, please? Yeah, absolutely. They'll be in the slides, which I'll pop in the chat in just a wee sec. Is it true that ChatGPT, etc., is extremely bad for carbon emissions? I've heard it uses large amounts of energy to generate the information. That's a very good point. Yeah. So I guess maybe in terms of the electricity and the power that it uses, and then depending on how that power is generated, I'm pretty sure OpenAI will maybe have a statement about that on their website. But yeah, it's probably not an area that I'm best positioned to speak about. But yeah, it would certainly be a factor. Can AI help with alt text? Yes, it can. If you upload an image and tell it to generate alt text. However, I would say that there's some tasks that, by the time that you've put it into AI and got a description of an image, you probably could have just written the description itself. So if people in the room aren't aware, alt text is the kind of metadata that you give to an image to help tell people who are visually impaired and maybe using a screen reader what the image is about. So for example, if you had an image of that scene that we generated before with the man and the two men, one was older in the kind of scene, if that was relevant to the content of a website or something like that, there would be some alt text added to describe that scene. So maybe like an image of two men walking in the sunset, one is being supported by the other type thing. So it could help with that, yeah, absolutely. But in my view, I don't know if it's the best use of time because it's such a kind of small job. But certainly in terms of inspiration and helping you depict what's in an image. But I always think your own eyes will do a better job of that than ChatGPT will at the moment. How do you access ChatGPT? Can you just Google it and sign in, sign up? Yes, absolutely. It is. If you just Google it, you'll get it right away. But it's chat.openai.com. That's where you navigate to get it. And if you don't have an account already, it will ask you to sign up, and you'll get access kind of right away. I'll just reiterate as well that some of the tools that I used were part of a kind of premium subscription with OpenAI. It's about $20 a month. But yeah, I think absolutely worth its weight in gold. And we've got a message here from the person who mentioned about the kind of environmental impact before. Uses 1 litre of water per search on AI to cool the servers. Not great. Okay, yeah, so that is something we need to make better as well. I think we could delve into all the different tools that we use online, and there will be there won't be sorry, I'm reading two things at once, sorry. Yeah, I think there's a lot of chat around kind of other websites as well around, the environmental impact of them and these kind of huge server farms and things like that. So something we definitely need to work on. Maybe ChatGPT can tell us how we can make that better. But yeah, thanks for raising that issue around the kind of environmental impact of this as well. I think it can be easy to forget about that, particularly when it's in a digital sense and feels quite far removed from it. What I'm doing here is I'm just grabbing that hyperlink. Sorry, I just typed it in, but I'll put that hyperlink in. I just sent that to hosts and panelists. Apologies. there you go. You should be able to click that now and access. So we've answered that one, and then we can't download the chat. It won't allow copy and paste. Hopefully you should be able to click that hyperlink now, and I'll hit done there. If you get any more questions, we've still got a wee bit of time, so please feel free to pop them in. What I'll do is I will share a link to my slides just now as well, so that you have that for reference later on in case it's helpful. I'll stop that share a wee sec. We'll go to share that link and I'll put it in the chat. There you go. So you should be able to open it there, and then within the slides themselves, there's hyperlink bits. Alan says the medcoms community have a lot of conversation around the use of AI in medical communications. Yeah, definitely worth checking that out. That's a kind of niche area that we do have to be very, very careful with. I think, yeah, just a wee bit of kind of common sense with it as well. So things like, you know, things that we're doing to create kind of small bits of content like Twitter posts and things like that. It's kind of limited in terms of the issues that we could come up run into with something like that. But yeah, definitely if you're working in a like a specialist area, don't rely on it for yeah, all your that doesn't have that be your kind of holy grail for what you're used to influence your work. It has got a long way to go. It's not replacing humans yet. That I definitely felt that as a digital designer, when you could start generating images and things like that, I was like, great, that's my job in jeopardy. Not yet. Not yet. You can see that there's still a way to go. But hopefully that has given you an overview of some of the kind of simple ways that you can start to refine some of the tasks that you're doing, give you a bit of inspiration, get you maybe out of a kind of uh, writer's block and things like that. And yeah, hopefully have some fun with it as well. There's a wee bit of chat going on around why does AI scare me so much, and because it's scary. I think a lot of it's around fear of the unknown and not quite understanding how it works. And I'm the kind of exact same in terms of like the actual technicalities and around it. I've got a kind of high level understanding of it. I think it's because of it can be scary because of the potential to do harm with it as well. But my response to that would be that just because something can do harm doesn't mean that we shouldn't always shouldn't leverage it for good as well. I think this is going to be something that becomes just kind of part of our everyday lives in the same way that we can use social media to be harmful, and we can use like when we're out about in the street can be we can be harmful as well. But it's about the choices we make. And yeah, it's part of a kind of movement. But what we can do is, yeah, become ambassadors for AI for good, show the benefits, and you know work towards helping campaign for like legislation and things like that around the kind of fair, ethical, and safe use of AI.
Thank you so much, Jen. That's been really helpful. I've just got a few slides just to kind of end us off here. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. It's been really, really interesting. I've found it very personally interesting as well. So thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you.